What is attachment theory? Well, really, attachment is about how we form our connections, and it's unique to each of us. And when we form connections, deep and meaningful ones are related to safety, and that's emotional safety, mental safety, psychological safety, physical safety in the relationships that we're in. Now, what we believe about how relationships should be, how we behave in relationships based on these beliefs and perceptions is all part of how our individual definition will start to come to fruition for us about what attachment is. So attachment theory was originally born out of the research of a renowned child psychiatrist, John Bowlby, and he did a tremendous amount of work in this field. And it was expanded upon by the works of Mary Ainsworth and others. So if you're looking for more research on this, there is plenty of information out there when you do some searches. But in essence, Bowlby spoke about attachment being about psychological connection between humans that are enduring, that are safe. And he was theorizing and then experimented with a lot that to come into secure attachment is actually, in essence, a requirement for humans because we are hardwired to belong. We are hardwired to connect. And when we're little, when we're, babies in early years, it's not as though we can pack our bags and move out. So we are reliant on the environment that we're in, which deepens our hardwired connection to becoming securely attached so that we can belong and feel well in the environments that we're in. Now, based on our early experiences with caregivers and the environment we marinate in, I think of it more from conception through to around the first 7 years as being the most influential. Now, we develop patterns of behavior. Our nervous system learns how do we come into connection with others? Is it safe and secure? Is it chaotic? What is it actually like? Do we feel more disconnected or dysregulated with certain people? We learn all of that in those early years. And we learn what to anticipate or expect in future relationships based on those formative years. So do we feel like we're going to be emotionally, mentally, and physically safe when we go into connection with other people? Are we going to be bonded? Are we going to be attached and connected? Now, whatever we're exposed to in those formative years influences how we perceive relationships now of all types and all kinds. So basically, we often show some of our early patterns of attachment behavior in our adult relationships. And a lot of that will be unconscious because most of our habits and patterns they're habits. They play out with very little mindful awareness on them. The beauty, though, is as adults, we can choose to be mindful and present and oriented to now and grounded and regulated anytime we choose. We just need to cultivate that as a practice. And there is a skill set to it, and we can choose it. Now, I've had some wonderful teachers across the years, and the most impactful people that I think I've ever done work with on attachment styles is John and Anna Chitty in the United States. And they refer to attachment theory as regulation theory. Now, this space in the workshop here is not to go into a detailed discussion on the autonomic nervous system. However, it is key to being able to come into a regulated state to then choose the type of attachment style we'd like to be operating from at any moment. So if you would like to do a deeper dive, I do offer some standalone modules on the autonomic nervous system where we talk about the 3 tiers of the nervous system for being able to regulate. And I also have a workshop that focuses on, well, how does the brain create the habits and the patterns that we have? And then we play off that, if you like, for all of the patterns that we have in life. And I call it a manual of life. Like we get this manual about life and how it should be and what's relationship like and how connected are we. And we can rewrite the pages of that manual. The scope of attachment theory is about being self-regulated to come into what we call co-regulation, where we move at the rhythm of another person. And to feel healthily attached and connected, we need to have a regulated nervous system. And that's kind of the limit of how I want to talk about that here today. Now, as babies, though, when we're first born, we're marinating in the environment that we're marinating in. Our nervous system as babies learns to follow the rhythm of our primary caregivers because we're completely dependent on them for survival. So this is called co-regulation, when one nervous system moves at the rhythm, mimics the nervous system of another person. And when we're babies, it is our primary caregivers. And it's very influential. Now, because as babies, as I said a moment ago, we're hardwired for survival. We're hardwired to connect because we can't pack our bags and bugger off if something's not working for us. So we're hardwired to feel safe and connected with our primary caregivers. So our first experience is about whether relationships are going to be safe. starts in utero and moves forward into those first few years post-birth. Now, the more a baby marinades in and co-regulates, so marinating being co-regulating, connecting to the nervous system of another, the more that a baby's able to marinate in a field where the caregiver is calm and grounded and able to regulate their emotions and how to pause and not be reactive, but rather choose how they're going to respond to a situation, even if they're feeling stressed, where connection and needs met is consistent and reliable, where a caregiver is attuned to the specific need of a baby. So does the baby need comforting? Do they need a diaper change? Do they need to be fed? Attuned accurately to what the need might be. The more that happens as babies, the more our nervous system anticipates that that is actually what relationship will be like moving forward in our life. Now, it does work the opposite way as well. So say we marinate in an environment where we may not have had our needs met in a consistent way, or where one or more of our caregivers was stressed, anxious, and wasn't able to regulate, wasn't able to always be present or anticipate our needs. And no parent is always going to be present, right? We're human and we've got many other things going on. But is it enough of the time that a baby can go, oh yeah, I can build some resilience by not always having my needs met. But if I truly have a need, I know that someone is there to meet me in that. And that's what this is about. This is not about perfect parenting at all. This is about, is there enough connection, enough of a time where I'm attuned and my needs are met? And in fact, having some gaps where our needs aren't met is what builds our resilience. So we do need some of that as well. So when a caregiver accurately does, though, attune, choose soothing or a loving, connected response to what a baby might need or a young child might need, then that baby learns needs are likely to be met through life and kind of attract people where that happens. And then, as I say, the opposite happens as well. If our needs are not met, as we get into our adult relationships, our nervous systems may line up to be expecting our needs to not be met. So attachment theory consistently, if you go into the research, talks about 4 main attachment styles. I'm going to talk about each in separate videos, but they are secure attachment, anxious attachment, avoidant, and you may also hear that termed as ambivalent attachment, and then disorganized attachment. Now, I'm just going to name up front, disorganized attachment is the least common for good reason. It's based on toxic upbringings. Is the least common. And it's also worth noting that we're never stuck in a particular attachment style. So we can always move out of it with consciousness and presence and some skills. We can bring ourselves out of an attachment style that is not secure into secure in our adult relationships where we are safe emotionally, physically, intellectually. And we obviously still want our discernment. If we're not in a safe relationship, we don't want to stay in that environment. But the aim here is that even though we may have grown up in an environment that was not securely attached, that does not define us in our adulthood. We can choose differently. Now, rarely too is someone one specific attachment style. We're usually a bit of a blend. The intention being able to choose secure attachment more of the time. And secure attachment is absolutely always possible. We can absolutely cultivate that.